Hey all, and welcome back to Radical Slice. My name is Eric. You are joining me on installment, I guess we're up to 18 now, of a series of devlogs, I guess, where I'm trying to implement a Pico-8 game that kind of looks a little bit like the old Kung Fu game from the NES, except instead of you're a karate dude fighting other karate dudes, in this case you're just like a guy with a beard in a desert punching trees. I mean, you could write your own story for that, really. On the last episode, I started adding like a special move that for now I'm calling the overdrive mode, where our player who normally punches and kicks has instead been granted the amazing ability to throw, well, laser beams, but really they're just like pink rectangles right now, as you can see. I'm kind of narrating a little bit of sped up work right here. You can see I'm working on the antic sprite and then the throwing sprite for the first part of the first version of the special move, which is just sort of like a double height laser beam that I anticipate the player is going to use to take out a whole bunch of enemies at once. And because in the last episode I kind of made a mistake that caused the antic sprite to make it look like the player was doing like a little hop, and I absolutely fell in love with that animation, that sort of like serendipitous animation tweak. I decided to canonize it and make a little hopping sprite for the punch move, or the punch overdrive move. So that's what you're seeing here, and you can sort of see the way the follow through sprite is also developing here. Like he's kind of like punching downward, and there's like a big old pink laser emitting from his fist. Or at least that's what I'm sort of going for here. So yeah, in this episode, we're going to continue to iterate on this special move. I don't know how far we'll get. Maybe there's going to be two versions, like the sort of double height version and also the double direction version. So let's see how far we can take it. Let me pass this back off to the version of me who is writing this code right now. All right, well, I hope y'all don't mind, but I did a bunch of visual changes sort of off camera. I guess I'm not really on camera, but yeah, I made some changes. So as I kind of mentioned, I had drawn, let me make this a little larger. I had drawn some different spreads for the player so that he kind of winds up. So I made the hop an official state rather than having it be an accidental thing that happens. So he'll do a little hop right before he throws, and then he kind of like throws this way. I had more, on my initial frame, it was more like a baseball, pitching a baseball sort of follow through. But I couldn't get it to line up right with the eventual projectile beam, so I had his arm go out more straight in the final incarnation of this. And for the spread itself, the projectile spread itself, I sort of, see how I can make this real big. Yeah, maybe not that big. I sort of went with like a fire look. So it's kind of integrating the same colors from the player's palette, right? The red from the sort of gi and the orange from the skin, to make it look fiery. And what I did was I used this technique in another project. Although it's not as complicated here, but what I did was I wanted the fire to look kind of, fiery, like dynamic. And so I drew three, this is like the part of the fire that's going to come out of the player's hand. And then I drew three very similar, but sort of pseudo-randomy looking fiery sprites. And what I'm doing is I'm drawing out the full length of the projectile. So this thing will extend throughout the whole screen, but every 8 pixel block of the thing that's drawn is going to randomly select from one of these 3 sprites. And that's going to update every frame. And so what that looks like when you throw it is this. Oh, it disappears after a second, but you can kind of see how, hopefully after YouTube mangles the video, you should be able to see how kind of like it's a little bit sparkly and sort of dynamic looking. So that was the effect that I was going for. You also notice, by the way, for now, and I think I'll probably keep this, but for now, I assigned switching to the overdrive mode to the up key on the D-pad, and I'm just doing like a quick palette swap of the player sprite. So I wanted some visual indicator that things are different. I want like probably more of an animation for that, but for now, this is probably fine. So I just changed his beard to be red and his gi to be pink. And so, yeah, when I tap the the punch button, whether I'm crouching or standing. It'll do a little hop, and yeah, the fire comes out. And I did add collision, so if we get some baddies on here, we can mop the floor with them. Same thing for both crouching, I'm sorry, high enemies and low enemies. So we can reach them all with the fire thing. I think the next thing to take care of is that other move I mentioned where the beam only hits up or down, but it fires out in both directions. And you know what? Maybe I'll work on the visual aspect of that first. I don't know how I want the player to look because, you know, if it's consistent with this one, I'll probably want the beam, the fire, to be coming out of the player's hands, right? And so that means they're going to have to extend their hands in both directions, which might look kind of funky. But we'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. All right, so this isn't too bad. What I kind of did graphically was something like this. So here's the standing up antic. He's sort of taking a half a step back and we're getting ready to raise his arms. And then for the full move, I have him raise his arms like this. So I think that looks okay. The crouch is a little bit trickier. Oh, actually, let me show you how that looks. So this is the standing version of that, right? So that kind of looks okay. I'm not super happy about like the move back. Like it's quite sudden, but maybe it's okay for now. The crouch thing is a little bit trickier because like here, it kind of makes visual sense that he slides his back leg backwards, right? Here though, it just kind of like jumps back. And it just has to do with the fact that, you know, the normal crouching sprite is 8 pixels wide. This one is 16 pixels wide. So I might have to do a little bit of an offset here to make it look less funky and awkward. I thought I was going to have to do it for the standing one too, but the standing one actually doesn't look all that unnatural. I think it looks fine. It's more the return that I have difficulty with. But this definitely, yeah, that will not stand. We're going to have to do a little something about that. Let me see if I can work an offset in there. Hold on. All right, a little bit of a hacky solution, but we'll take it. So yeah, just when I am in the kick antic and I'm switching to the full kick, I'm just gonna shift the draw X value by 4 pixels, and then in the actual kick, when I switch back to crouch, I'll just I'll unoffset it. I'll onset it. I guess, the 4 pixels back. And so what that looks like, is this. So it's kind of just his arms moving. It'd be cooler if his legs moved a little bit. Maybe I can do something with that later. So it's a little bit, because that feels, the standing one feels kind of dynamic, and this one feels a little bit like bleh. But whatever, it'll work. Also, his mouth is pink when I palette swap, which is pretty funny. This picture, yeah, looks good here too. Oh, the other way around does not look good. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that. The flipping, because the sprites are sort of offset, the flipping is looking kind of funky. So I'll have to do something. Oh man, and that was fun too. Okay, so we've got some we've got some visual issues that need to be dealt with in the right facing direction. I guess I'll try to tackle those next time. Those seems pretty critical. I think I've worked out all the little positional tweaks, and I needed to do this both for the regular punch one, the punch fire, and the what will eventually be the kick fire. Yeah, so I just had to do, I kind of did a bunch of manual offsetting every time the state changes, and this made me really think that I want to have a couple of functions, like library style functions, that can handle, you know, if the state changes and the size of the sprite changes, then clearly like we need to do some positional offsets. And the issue is like, because that the transition to the punching state can happen either from standing or from walking or from crouching, for example, I have to add that offset in 3 different places, and that sucks. So yeah, I'll try to think of a good way to, as they say, librarify that, and maybe that'll be a separate video once this project wraps up. Comment below if you want to see me struggle to write like some sort of finite state machine library thing. Anyway, yeah, so this is pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is kind of steal the vague aesthetic of the punch fire attack and use it for the kick as well. Just make it kind of thinner and have it emerge from this dude's hands when he does this thing. Also, I did try to make add a little more dynamicism to the crouching one. So you can see there's like the antic shifts a little bit. His head kind of stays in place, which could be better, but his body moves a little bit more. So it feels like something's going on there. So let me add in that fire now. so I spared you me just like tweaking pixel values for the last hour. You probably even sped up 8x with background music. That is just not something you probably want to see. But yeah, so everything is kind of looking good now. So we'll start with the punch, and that same thing happens from the crouch. So kind of the punch, the big fireball has 4 conditions, right? It's like facing left, standing and crouching, facing right, standing and crouching. So those all look normal, all right? We want them to pop up from the crouch anyway, so that works. The kick one, that looks like that, facing that way, and crouching like this. Same thing here. Looks good there. And I enabled collision on everything, so we can just ice these guys. You'll notice if there's like a baddie that's high up, we can't hit him with the crouch. Let me demonstrate that. See? And if they're low, we can't hit them with the standing one, which is what we want to see. And then we just like kill some more dudes. It's actually pretty fun to just like kill swarms of trees with the double directional fire thing. So yeah, and then we enabled it with the boss too. So this will hurt both projectiles, or it'll blow up the projectiles and also hurt the boss. Actually, the boss, it really only makes sense to use the big one. So yeah, there's player projectiles. I think I'm okay with the way things look. The crouching kick one, I'm not like 100% happy with that look. I kind of had to compromise to make the collision like make visual sense. So it kind of just looks like he's like, I don't know, sitting semi-cross-legged or something when he does it. But whatever, it'll be fine. So nice, eat it, flower. So okay, so we've got the player's like projectile ability like working the way we want it, right? The combat stuff is all in there. So obviously what I haven't dealt with yet is that we can't just allow the player to switch this on like all the time. This has to be like a limited resource. So I think the next aspect of this to tackle is putting this on some sort of like countdown timer. So as soon as you enable it, it's going to start pulling from some stamina meter or something, and if you toggle it off, it'll stop again. And once that is in there, we will deal with the mechanic of how we add stamina, right? Because what I'm going to do to test is just set the stamina to 100, and then just like let it kind of count down, and let the player like run out of it, and then disable the toggle once that's there. And then I will deal with like, okay, so if the stamina can only count down, how do we build it up, right? What does that look like? And I already have an idea in my brain, but I want to actually describe it when I'm working on it. So I'm not going to talk about that yet. So let me make a cut here, I think, and we'll handle the other stuff next time. Hey, thanks so much for your time and attention. See, I told you the pink rectangle wouldn't stick around that long. Now it's fire. And for trees, that kind of makes sense. We're not just punching the trees. Now we're burning the trees. Oh, mercy. What a setting we have built for ourselves. Anyway, thanks so much for checking out the channel. I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope whatever you're playing, whatever you're working on, you're having a great time. And do we still smash? If we still smash the like button, go ahead and smash that like button. Or don't, I don't know. But in any case, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next week. Bye for now.